test. The truth was, learning how to write songs was really kind of our second chapter, because Gunnar actually started on drums. He was always bothering our dad's drummer to jump on the kit, and our father finally relented and got him a drum set, a mismatched drum set from a pawn shop when, Santa Claus did, right? You were 7 years old. And I got a little downsized Fender bass guitar a little bit after that. I thought it's easier, it's only got 4 strings. I had no idea about that whole thing, but the cool thing was we had inadvertently become a rhythm section. And we learned how to play to the records that everybody was listening to. We'd go down, back when there were record stores, we'd go down and buy these records with our allowance money. And our parents moved us into the barn. We actually have a hayloft in a barn in the place in California where we lived. So for years, Gunnar and I got really used to the smell of horse poop and rats. But at least we were away from the house, and we did get better. I think I learned how to tune my guitar 2 years after we started. Yeah, but we loved it. We just wanted to make music. Of course, growing up with our dad around, we made a connection very early because, we kind of didn't stand a chance. He formed his band, the Stone Canyon Band, which was a second phase of his career, in our nursery. He pushed our cribs aside and rehearsed his band there. So we literally grew up around music, and we didn't know until much later that the people that were around our house were famous. Because when you're a little kid, you don't know what that even means. There's no point to that. And the guy with the crazy hair that wouldn't leave turned out to be Bob Dylan. And our next door neighbor was George Harrison. He used to have breakfast with us for a long time ago. Uncle George, we called him. And our babysitter was Mama Cass Elliott from Mama's and Papa's. That's true. Totally normal childhood for us. But Gunnar and I started playing nightclubs in Los Angeles back in the era of the punk and new wave thing that happened in the late 70s. That's where we started. We got lumped in with all the hair band stuff later on, but it wasn't what we were about at all. Gunnar was, by this point, kind of a prodigy drummer, and a lot of grown-ups would come just to watch this kid play, and they would get really upset because they weren't as good. And it's just how it was. We actually, yes, we were very young. We were 12 years old playing, rock clubs like Madame Wong's West in Los Angeles. And that was when all the bands happened, like the Knack, the Go-Go's, the Motels. We were playing, we were at the smaller stage downstairs. We had to work our way up, just like anything. But that gift of working through that stuff to an audience was inherently hostile and definitely not our age, really worked for us. So later on, when Gunnar decided to, when our father passed away, we were 18 years old. And he was our best friend, and it really kind of crushed us. But Gunnar found that time after we were the only unsigned band at that time. Our little band had kind of blown up a little bit in LA. Gunnar was still on drums. We were invited to play Saturday Night Live. And we did the show, and on the way back, Gunnar just said, "Look, I'm a mess." And I said, "I am too." And he said, "I'm coming up front with you." And I thought he had literally lost his mind, because one of the best drummers I'd ever played with, and never will play with, wanted to come up front. And it worked out. But at the time, I was singing all the lead stuff. My brother was singing harmony stuff. I'd never done this. We were in the studio doing demos because we realized we had to write hit songs. That's the second phase. So we went all over the place, collaborating with people and learning the craft of songwriting. We had a great mentor named John Boylan. If you ever see the Eagles trilogy movies and stuff like that, this is the guy that actually not only helped our dad with his Stone Canyon Band, but wound up putting together a little band to back up Linda Ronstadt, and they became the Eagles. Our dad's bass player was in it. So that was kind of our song mentor, good mentor to have. And he kind of taught us the truth, which is if you don't have a hit, you better learn how to write it, because nobody's going to give it to you, especially when you're starting out. So Gunnar and I actually did that, and he moved up front, and we were in the studio one day, and we had laid some tracks down, and I forgot what happened. I think I was watching a Twilight Zone. I didn't want to get off the couch while he was recording. And he poked his head and he said, "Hey, Matt, do you mind if I sing the lead vocal on this just to get it done, the song?" I said, "Sure." So he goes back in with the engineer, and I walked in about an hour later, and there's my brother singing the part I normally do. He said, just sing the high part. So I did, and everybody collectively looked around and went, "Oh my gosh, that's it. That's the sound." So that's how that all came together. Kind of everything, we flip-flopped instruments, we learned how to write songs, and we actually switched places, which is an easy thing to do when you're identical twins and split from the same cell. And we actually have a sound now that people, thank God, can listen to about 5 or 6 seconds and go, "I know those guys. I know them. That's Hanson." Yes. They're not saying it's Mary-Kate and Ashley. That's true. And it's kind of good for us because when Extreme, some friends of ours, came out with a song called More Than Words, to this day, everybody thinks we sang that song. At this point, we just say, "You're welcome." Kind of did. A couple of weeks